Social value system. The Quran envisages the life of man as a part of a society. The complete potential of human beings can only be achieved when they live a collective life and interact with each other. To enable them to live in harmony with each other, they would be well advised to frame a complete code of discipline, living within which individuals pursue their preferred activities. In this chapter, we will discuss the Quranic values concerning the social sphere. For convenience and clarity, values concerning politics, economy, war and peace, family affairs etc. have been discussed separately, although they are all a part of social living. There may well be, therefore, a little repetition. We will try to keep it to the minimum. To avoid constant conflict, God suggests that human beings should agree to the structure of a single code of discipline, the abiding principles of which God has given to humanity through Anbiyas. O mankind, obey the injunctions given by your nourisher who has created you and those before you. 2:21. God is not asking for worship. He is not asking for you to utter some words in his praise or to go through some movements to show obedience. He is asking for demonstrable actions which would allow a society to live together in a peaceful manner. For formulation of a code of life for their times and space, the Quran asks believers to establish salat. The true Muslims are those who, when established a free and independent state, set up a system of life in which they follow the laws of Allah in all spheres and provide means of growth to people. 22:41. It will be noted that salat system can only be established when Muslims live in a sovereign state where collective laws, made within the divine value system, would enable people to order their individual lives also in accordance with Islam. Muslims living in a minority in a state with a non-Muslim majority are not even asked to establish a salat system. The best that the Muslims can do in such a circumstance is to live as model citizens, in conformity with the laws of the state in which they live and trying, as a community, to bring about decency in laws where it does not exist. Interaction in society starts with life at home at first. It then expands into individuals' relations with neighbors, with the community and with the world at large. Home life is considered of great importance for growth of humanity. This is the foundation on which peace and prosperity in the world is built. That is why the Quran gives a fair amount of detail in respect of broad values concerning life at home. Let us start from the beginning. In a normal, healthy society, parents take care of their infants. The Quran takes that for granted and goes on to exhort the parents to provide the fullest opportunity to their children for their growth and not deprive them of their right to education, health etc. If, for any reason, the parents seem to fail in this duty, it is the duty of the state to step in and ensure that the children get their right. And do not deprive your children of education, health and other necessities of growth for fear of poverty. We provide for them and for you. Their deprivation is a very big failing on your part. 1731. The children are also asked to be decent to their parents, especially when they have become old and require all the love, affection and, if necessary, means of living. And we have enjoined on man concerning his parents, his mother bears him with faintings upon faintings and his weaning takes 2 years. But if they, parents, strive to persuade you to obey other than one God, you are not obliged to obey them, but, in spite of that, be decent to them and do your duty towards them in accordance with the law of the land. 31:14-15. It will be noted that obedience to parents is enjoined only when they guide the children towards good. But differences on a value system do not entitle the children to look down upon their parents. And your God has decreed that you serve none but him and do good to parents. If either or both of them reach old age with you, say not fie to them, nor chide them, and speak to them a generous word. And lower to them the wing of humility for nourishment and say, my nourisher, have for nourishment on them as they brought me up when I was little. 1723-24. The trouble that the mother, in particular, takes to bring up her children is further stressed in chapter 46 of the Quran. We have enjoined on man the doing of good to his parents. His mother bears him with trouble and she brings him forth in pain. And, the bearing of him and the weaning of him is 30 months. Till, when he attains his maturity and reaches 40 years, he says, my nourisher, grant me that I may give thanks for favor which you have bestowed on me and on my parents, and that I may do good that pleases you and be good to me in respect of my offspring. 46:15. For a healthy and peaceful growth of society, the Quran lays great stress on a proper sexual behavior. Sex outside marriage is strictly prohibited. and avoid even the preliminaries of a sexual relationship outside marriage. This is a straying from the path of virtue and will, surely, lead to very disastrous consequences. 1732. The Quran understands that men and women have to live and work together in all walks of life. At a certain age, there is sexual attraction between them. This is healthy. But sexual relationship must await marriage at a marriageable age. Men and women, therefore, should work together in such an environment when sex is not exhibited by any of them to divert their attention from productive work requiring their undivided attention. Exhibition of sex may also result in a temptation to indulge in illicit sex. Both parties are asked to avoid such a situation. Say to the believing men that they lower their gaze and restrain their sexual passions. That is purer for them. Allah is aware of what they do. And say to the believing women that they lower their gaze and restrain their sexual passions and do not display their adornments except what appears thereof. And let them wear their head coverings over their bosoms. And they should not display their adornments except their husbands or their fathers, of the fathers of their husbands, or their sons or the sons of their husbands, or their brothers or their household servants including male servants unfit for marriage or the children who know not women nakedness. And let them not strike their feet so that the adornment that they hide may be known. 24:30-31. Women are asked, in particular, not to exhibit sex while otherwise engaging in all activities, like education, working for a living in men's company, etc. A little more guidance is offered to them in chapter 33 of the Quran. O Nabi, tell your wives and your daughters and the women of believers to let down upon them their overgarments. This is more proper, so that they may be known, and not be given trouble. 33:59. Nowhere, in the Quran has been asked women to be confined to their homes. In fact, it is encouraging them to come forth and together with men, when necessary, to participate in all useful activities provided they are properly dressed. Notice that not many details of dress restrictions are laid down. Only the broad outlines and the principles underlying this injunction are mentioned. After that, it is left to the discretion of men and women in all ages and in different countries to adopt dress habits to suit their circumstances, remaining, of course, within the broad restrictions prescribed. The necessity for not even preliminaries to a temptation for sex outside marriage is mentioned in chapter 24 of the Quran. O you who believe, let your household servants and those of you who have not attained to puberty, ask permission, before they enter your private quarters, of you 3 times, before the morning prayer, Salat al-Fajr, and when you put off your cloths for the heat of noon, and after the prayers of night, Salat al-Isha. These are 3 times of privacy for you. Besides these there is no harm for you nor for them to move around. And, when the children among you attain to puberty, let them seek permission as those before them sought permission. And, as for women past childbearing who hope not for marriage, it is no harm for them if they put off their overclothes without displaying their adornment. And, if they are modest, it is good for them. 24:58-60. If women insist on exhibition of sex, they are to be prevented from doing so in accordance with law. And as for those of your women who are guilty of straying from the virtuous path by being indecent, call to witness against them 4 witnesses among you, and if they bear witness, confine them to houses until death takes them away or Allah opens a way for them. And if both men and women stray from the path of virtue and are indecent, punish them according to law. Of course, if they retrace their steps and adopt a decent course of action after their punishment, leave them alone. 4:15-16. It will be noticed that indecent behavior by both men and women is reprehensible. They should be tried in a court of law where proper evidence, at least 4 reliable persons, are to be produced. I may mention in passing that the general impression that the Quran has prescribed 4 witnesses to the act of sexual intercourse before illicit sex can be proved is quite wrong. 4 witnesses are required only for indecent behavior and unlawful exhibition of sex. This is a very fair requirement. Such an evidence can easily be provided. Once this act is proved in a court of law, only courts are authorized to award punishment as the law prescribes. A confinement to the house is punishment for women for as long as circumstances require. They might get married if they are not so already and lead a normal married life after confinement has brought home to them the seriousness of their offense. This should give a lie to those who claim that the Quran asks for women to be confined to their homes in the normal course. The Quran emphasizes the role marriage plays in maintaining balance in society. It is also a means of spreading love, affection, mutual trust and understanding amongst people. And of his signs is this, that he created mates for you from amongst yourselves, that you might find quiet of mind in them, and he put between you love and compassion. 30:21. Marriage is a contract between two individuals, a decision they arrive at freely of their own accord, witnessed by members of the society and countersigned by the competent authorities set up by the state. So it becomes a solemn agreement not to be taken lightly. It can be broken when necessary, like all other agreements, according to law only. The Quran talks of maturity as the age at which marriage can be solemnized. And keep a check on the growth of orphans until they reach the age of marriage. 4:6. This balagan nikah, reaching the age of marriage, is further specified in 6:153 as reaching an age at which boys and girls achieve full strength and are mature. This is further confirmed in 1734 as follows. And do not draw nigh to the orphan's property except in a goodly way till he attains his maturity. 1734. I am emphasizing this point to eliminate belief among some people that Islam allows child marriage so long as guardians agree. This is an entirely wrong impression. In fact, it would be against Quranic injunctions when it lays down in 4:3 for men and 4:19 for women to choose their mates of their own free will. Marry the women of your choice. 4:3. It is not permissible for you to marry women forcibly. 4:19. These two passages will come up for a detailed discussion later. The Quran does not specifically lay down a written agreement in the case of marriage, but as such a solemn agreement entails heavy responsibilities on the part of both the contracting parties, it would be advisable to reduce it to writing. The Quran has, on many occasions, laid down that all business agreements should be reduced to writing and witnessed by reliable people. A marriage contract has many implications, and it stands to reason that in order to comply with them, its details must be fully described in writing to avoid any complications in the future. In normal circumstances, the Quran recommends monogamy. If such a situation arises, and, unfortunately, it does too often as a result of wars, that there are far too many women of marriageable age in proportion to men, polygamy is allowed under certain conditions. And if you fear that you will not be able to do justice to a lot of women marriageable age, that is, there will not be enough men due to some reasons, marry such women as seem good to you, 2 or 3 or 4. But if you fear that you cannot afford more than one, then stick to the normal, that is, one man, one wife or slave girl, for as long as slavery was in vogue. Monogamy is more normal condition in which you can do justice to marriage as an institution. 4:3. If a man, in such emergent circumstances, wants to marry more than one wife, it might restore some balance in society and reduce the number of unmarriageable women to a reasonable proportion. Also, if some women are desperate to have children of their own, they can legitimately do so. But will the man be able to do full justice to marriage in all respects? The Quran, logically, appreciates that it is not possible to do so in full. And you cannot do justice between multiple wives even though you wish it so, be not disinclined from one with total disinclination, so that you leave her in suspense. 129. If for some demographic reasons, men face the same problem, that is, there are far more men of marriageable age in a society in proportion to women, they, the men, are asked to live with such a situation until it improves. And let those men who cannot find a match, keep chaste until Allah makes them free from want out of His grace. 24:33. Whereas, human beings must have food and drink to be able to live, they can live without sex. Men are asked to do exactly that. But in consideration for some women who may desperately want children of their own or security of a husband, an instinct, probably I am a man and hence not sure, stronger than sex, Quran allows them to share a husband. But a man is not allowed to share a wife in an emergency because it would not be fair to the children. They will not know their fathers. I conclude from this discussion that polygamy as suggested by the Quran is concession to women for legitimate reasons. Of course, if men misuse a provision in law made for unusual circumstances, you cannot find fault with the law. To afford full protection to women who, of their own free will, wish to share a husband, the law of the land must specify in detail what minimum conditions must exist before such an arrangement can be sanctioned. The Quran suggests a possible distribution of duties with regard to running a household. It is the duty of men to earn a living and provide for women because God has made some of them to excel others in various activities. 4:34. In normal circumstances, men should spend their energy in earning a living and women should work hard to manage the household and bring up children. This is not a matter of one being superior to the other. They both have a job of work to do, and according to God, society will prosper in a peaceful manner if they distribute their load of work in this way. In no way does it mean that women are not allowed to go out and participate in useful activities or, for that matter, earning a living, when necessary. It is true that between men and women, God has made some of them to excel the other, but it does not mean that women cannot go forth and earn a living when necessary. For men is the benefit of what they earn, and for women is the benefit of what they earn. 4:32. In case a woman does restrict her activities to management of the house and children, she must not remain economically completely dependent. When men marry, they must part with some of their income as an obligatory part of a marriage agreement to cater for women's economic requirements, and give to the women their marriage gifts as gracefully as a bee gives honey. This gift is, then, their property. If, of their own free will, they wish to give a part of it back to you, they can do so. Both of you together, consume this with enjoyment and pleasure. 4:4. The Quran suggests to men and women to marry good Muslims whenever possible. A congruity of faith and thoughts helps in maintenance of stability in married life. However, in a Muslim society where slavery has not yet been completely eliminated, Muslims are allowed to marry slaves. Of course, they become free immediately after such a marriage, and marry those among you who are single. They may be slaves or slave girls of good character, when slavery is still under elimination. If they are needy, Allah will make them free of want out of His grace. 24:32. The Quran looks upon the married state as the normal state. Insufficiency of means to afford a family must not force some people to remain single. The state must legislate in this connection, if necessary. Muslim men are encouraged to normally marry Muslim women of good character, whom they like. However, Muslim men and women are also permitted to marry men and women of the book. This day all good things are made lawful for you. And the food of the people of the book is lawful for you, and your food is lawful for them. And, so are the chaste from among believing women and the chaste from among those who have been given the book before you, when you have given them their marriage gift, taking them for marriages, not fornicating, nor taking them for paramours in secret. 5:5. The point with regard to Ulul Kitab, people of the book, of course, is who exactly are they? Most Muslim scholars have, so far, been applying this term to only Christians and Jews. But I see no reason why other people who claim to have received divine message at one time or the other should be excluded from this list. God has sent His message to every nation in the civilized world. Buddhists, Hindus, and Parsis, amongst others, claim to have been recipients of divine message. Sure, their books have since been tampered with, but the same has happened to Torah and Bible. Muslim scholars would, therefore, be well advised to revise their opinion about which people can be termed as the people of the book. The Quran also gives a list of people with whom marriage is not permissible. And marry not the idolater until they believe, and certainly a believing maid is better than an idolatress even though she pleases you. Nor give believing women in marriage to idolaters until they believe, and certainly a believing slave is better than an idolater, even though he pleases you. 221. Other categories of people are added in this list. Forbidden to you are your mothers, your daughters, your sisters, your paternal and maternal aunts, your brothers and sisters' daughters, your mothers that have suckled you, your foster sisters, mothers of your wives, your stepdaughters who are in your guardianship, born of your wives with whom you have had sexual intercourse, but if you have not done so, there is no blame for you, and the wives of your sons who are your own lions, and that you should have two sisters together, except what has already passed, and all married women except whom your right hands possess, when slavery is not yet completely eliminated, are forbidden. This is Allah's ordinance to you. And lawful to you are all women besides those, provided that you seek them with your property, taking them in marriage, not committing fornication. So, to those from whom you profit after marriage, give them their marriage gifts as made binding on you. And, those of you who cannot afford to marry free believing women, let him marry your believing slave maidens, when slavery is not yet completely eliminated. Marry such slave girls with the permission of their masters and give them their proper marriage gifts, according to law.
Remember, no living with arrangements with free irresponsible sex.
Also remember that if after marriage, such erstwhile slave girls exhibit sex, they should be given half the punishment awarded to free women.
423-25. Muslims are forbidden to marry such women as have been proved to have committed sex outside marriage. The adulterer cannot marry except an adulteress or idol worshipper. Similarly, an adulteress can only marry an adulterer or an idol worshipper.
Marriage with such people is forbidden for Muslims.
24-3. Also forbidden is marriage with your mothers.
And marry not women whom your fathers married except what has already passed.
422.
Once men and women have entered into a marriage relationship, they are asked to observe certain rules.
The Quran gives only a few.
Obviously, societies have to regulate these relationships in much more detail, not transgressing broad divine injunctions. Whereas, a sexual relationship is a source of great pleasure to men and women and vehicle for cementing an environment of love and affection, it must not be forgotten that the main object of such relationship is to produce children. If this was not done, human race would come to an end. Your wives are a tilth for you, so go into your tilth when you like.
But reproduction is not the only aim in life. Your real aim is the growth of your personality. 223.
Nothing should be done which inhibits the development of your personality, howsoever tempting it may be for the body to indulge in entertainment.
Creation of a balance between these two legitimate requirements leads to a consideration of family planning.
As discussed earlier, it is a couple's duty to provide for the growth of their children in all respects in a decent manner. 152. They must therefore plan a family keeping in view their own resources as well as national resources, when need be. It would not add to their stature if they produced children who could not be adequately looked after by themselves, or they would be burdened that the national resources could not cope with. Whether the Quran encourages family planning and if so, in what manner, would be legitimate subject for discussion.
In my opinion, the Quran does not discourage family planning.
One of the healthiest useful resources for the physical and psychological growth of children is provided free by nature mother's milk. Incidentally, breastfeeding by women might help in family planning also.
The Quran advises the women to fully utilize this resource.
And mothers shall suckle their children for 2 whole years, for him who desires to complete the time of suckling, although this passage is, primarily, talking about arrangements on a divorce, but the parts referring to suckling are applicable in the normal course.
And their maintenance and their clothing must be borne by the father according to law.
Neither shall a mother be made to suffer harm on account of her child, nor father on account of his child.
But, if both desire weaning by mutual consent and counsel, there is no blame on them.
And if you wish to engage a nurse for your children, there is no blame on you so long as you pay what you promised in accordance with law.
233.
If for health or other reasons, it is not possible for mothers to breastfeed their children, the alternative recommended by the Quran appears to be wet nurse rather than baby milk. But if baby milk has to be resorted to, the reasons for denial of a free and healthy nature gift might as well be really strong. Otherwise, there will be lasting consequences on the psyche of children as a result of such a denial, which reasonable society would rather not have to suffer in exchange for temporary pleasure.
The Quran advises sexual abstinence when women are having periods. And they ask you about menstruation, say it is annoying. So keep aloof from women during menstrual discharge and go not near them until they are clean.
But when they have cleansed themselves, go into them as Allah has commanded you.
222. Menstruation is a healthy and necessary institution in accordance with the laws of nature.
Women go about their daily live and business in the normal manner and interact with men, but only sexual intercourse is prohibited. Some societies treat rather harshly with women when they are having periods. The Quran condemns such a practice. Another practice, very common in Arabia during messengers, peace be upon him, time and continuing in all times in one form or another, is for men to swear that they will not have sexual relationship with their wives for some reason or another. The Quran condemns such a practice. As regards those who swear that they will not go into their wives, the wives cannot be left in such an uncertain position for an indefinite time, the wives should wait 4 months.
If normal relationship is restored, well and good. 226.
Otherwise, a woman can legitimately ask for a divorce on this account.
The man would be to blame.
Another variation of this unjust practice was that the men would declare their wives to be their mothers and hence not to be slept with. The Quran roundly condemns this practice also. Those of you who put away their wives by calling them their mothers, they are not their mothers. None are their mothers save those who gave them birth, and they utter, indeed, a hateful word and a lie. And those who put away their wives by calling them their mothers, then go back on what they said, must free a captive, when slavery was still not completely eliminated, before they touch one another. But he who has not the means to free a slave, there may not be any slaves to free, should fast for 2 months successively, before they touch one another. And he who is unable to do so should feed 60 needy ones. 58:2-4. Many societies do not allow widows to marry after their husband's death. The Quran advises against this practice also. And as for those of you who die and leave wives behind, such women should keep themselves in waiting for 4 months and 10 days. When they reach their term, there is no blame on you for what they do for themselves in a lawful manner. 234. This period of waiting is extended if the widow discovers herself to be with child. And as for the pregnant women, their prescribed time of waiting is until they have their child. 65:4. While in the period of waiting, the widows go about their daily business of life in the normal manner. There is no restriction of any kind. In fact, during this period of waiting, if women are inclined towards a man or the men intend to marry the widows, there is no harm in coming to an understanding, provided the marriage agreement is contracted only after the period has ended. And there is no blame on you respecting that which you speak indirectly in the asking of such women in marriage or keep the proposal concealed within your mind. Allah knows that you will have them in your minds, but give them not a promise in secret, but speak with them openly and decently in a lawful manner. And confirm not the marriage until the prescribed period reaches its end. 235. The widows are not to be left in the lurch after their husband's death while they are looking for adoption of measures to reorder their lives. And those of you who die and leave behind wives, should make a bequest in favor of their wives of maintenance for a year without turning them out. Then, if they themselves go away, there is no blame on you for what they do of lawful deeds concerning themselves. 240. Men and women are advised by the Quran to freely choose their spouses but not to take marriage contract lightly. It is a serious business and should be entered into after deep considerations. As far as possible, it should keep the couples together till death do them part. But with all the goodwill in the world, occasions will arise when differences appear between spouses. The society is urged to keep on the lookout for such happenings and take steps in time to ensure that such differences do not result in separation or divorce.
وإن خفتم شقاق بينهما فابعثوا حكما من أهله وحكما من أهلها إن يريد إصلاحا يوفق الله بينهما إن الله كان عليما خبيرا.
And if you fear a breach between the two, appoint an arbiter from his people and an arbiter from her people. If they both desire agreement, Allah will effect harmony between them. 435. Many such disputes are of an emotional nature. If left to themselves, both parties might persist in their anger and hurt ego. When such disputes come out in the open and are freely discussed in a neutral gathering, they tend to be resolved. The state is asked to set up an institution which keeps resolving marital disputes before they result in disaster. If the parties come to an agreement as a result of this reconciliation effort, they continue to live together in peace. If, however, there is no reconciliation, the matter goes to court for a judicious decision in accordance with law. The decision for granting or rejecting a divorce and the conditions attendant on it lies with the courts. If the courts decide in favor of a divorce, this, in accordance with the Quranic injunctions, is the first divorce. From this date the divorced woman starts her waiting period. If the couple decides to reconcile during the waiting period, the spouse have the first right to re-establish conjugal relations. While a woman is not allowed to marry a person other than her husband during her waiting period, a man is. And, if he decides to take this option, the divorce becomes operative. After this, the couples are free to remarry, if after a while, they realize that they made a mistake and took a decision in undue haste.
الطلاق مرتان فإمساك بمعروف أو تسريح بإحسان ولا يحل لكم أن تأخذوا مما آتيتموهن شيئا إلا أن يخافا ألا يقيما حدود الله.
2 times you are allowed to divorce each other and be free to remarry after it without any conditions, and then either stick together in accordance with law or part with grace. If you divorce for the 3rd time, another procedure takes effect, which will be described shortly. And, it is not lawful for you to take any part of what you have given them. 2:229. The period of waiting here becomes crucial because during this period, the spouse have the first right to re-establish conjugal relations and not even the first divorce has come into operation. It is a matter of dispute among Muslim lawmakers that if an estranged couple come to resolve their differences during the women's waiting period, can they resume nuptial relationship without having to formally remarry. It is important to resolve this issue. The period of waiting is really a period of temporary separation during which conjugal relations may be re-established. This period serves as a check upon divorce. If there is any love in the union, its pangs would assert during this period. A reconciliation will follow and a resort to divorce will not be necessary.
والمطلقات يتربصن بأنفسهن 3 قروء ولا يحل لهن أن يكتمن ما خلق الله في أرحامهن إن كن يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر وبعولتهن أحق بردهن في ذلك إن أرادوا إصلاحا ولهن مثل الذي عليهن بالمعروف وللرجال عليهن درجة والله عزيز حكيم.
And the divorced women should keep themselves in waiting for 3 courses. And, it is not lawful for them to conceal what Allah has created in their wombs if they believe in Allah and the day of reckoning. And, their spouse has a better right to revert to the original condition if they wish to reconcile. 2:228. This waiting period is extended in case of pregnant women, and it is until they have their child as already discussed, 65:4. The Quranic provisions so far stated, can be serialized thus. A. When a marital problem is suspected between a couple, the society attempts to bridge differences through a reconciliation commission. B. If the commission fails to bring about a compromise, the matter is referred to a court. C. If the court decides for a divorce, the woman enters her waiting period. D. The waiting period for woman is 3 periods or childbirth if the woman is pregnant. E. During this waiting period, if the couple agrees to reconciliation, they are free to re-establish conjugal relations. F. The divorce is operative when the waiting period for the woman ends, or a man decides to marry another woman during this period. G. This is the first divorce. H. If, after the finalization of this divorce, the couple wishes to remarry, they are at liberty to do so. I. If they wish to part again, they go through the divorce procedure in full once again. J. If this divorce is also finalized, this is the second divorce. K. If after the second divorce, the couple again wants to remarry, they are free to do so. L. If, however, they decide that after a lot of trial, even the 3rd marriage has not worked, they have a right to dissolve it after going through the full divorce proceedings. M. But, before they part company this time, they should know beforehand that a road to remarriage this time is not so smooth. N. This is the 3rd divorce. O. And, now, 2:230, applies, as follow.
فإن طلقها فلا تحل له من بعد حتى تنكح زوجا غيره فإن طلقها فلا جناح عليهما أن يتراجعا إن ظنا أن يقيما حدود الله.
So, if he divorces her, the 3rd time, she shall not be lawful to him afterwards until she marries another husband. If he divorces her, in the same way as mentioned above, there is no blame to them both if they return to each other by marriage if they think they can keep within the limits of Allah. 2:230. Just as a man can divorce a woman can divorce a man. They have equal rights in this respect. Logically, if a woman asks for a divorce and the man is not to blame in the judgment of a court, she must return marriage gifts unless the man keeps it with her as matter of grace.
فإن خفتم ألا يقيما حدود الله فلا جناح عليهما فيما افتدت به تلك حدود الله.
Then, if you fear that they cannot keep within the limits of Allah, there is no blame on them for what she gives up, to become free thereby. 2:229. I hope that the discussion so far has clarified the position with regard to 3 divorces. A concept, generally held, that all that a man must do is to utter the word talaq 3 times and that is 3 divorces, is not in accordance with the Quranic instructions. In fact, it is a flagrant breach of some carefully worked out arrangements that ensure that divorce is not treated lightly. It is a very serious matter, and when a solemnly entered into agreement is to be got out of, nothing should be done in a hurry. All possible steps should be taken to effect reconciliation. If a divorce does take place, there should be an option to reconsider a renewed relationship in case the first decision was misguided. The Quran has suggested that it would be in public interest that divorces should be discouraged as far as possible. That is why if an annulment is required to a marriage contract, the matter is taken to court. And if a decision does take place in favor of a divorce, it has to be witnessed by at least 2 reliable witnesses.
فإذا بلغن أجلهن فأمسكوهن بمعروف أو فارقوهن بمعروف وأشهدوا ذوي عدل منكم وأقيموا الشهادة لله ذلكم يوعظ به من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر ومن يتق الله يجعل له مخرجا.
So, when they have reached their prescribed time, retain them with kindness or part with them with grace in accordance with law, and call to witness 2 just ones from among you and give upright testimony for Allah. 65:2. As has been pointed out earlier, a divorce is complete only at the time when the woman has completed her iddat waiting period. While she is thus waiting, she has a right to live a decent and comfortable life provided for by her husband.
يا أيها النبي إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن وأحصوا العدة واتقوا الله ربكم لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن ولا يخرجن إلا أن يأتين بفاحشة مبينة.
O Nabi, when you divorce women, divorce them for their prescribed period and calculate the period carefully. Turn them not out of their houses, nor should they themselves go forth unless they commit an open indecency. 65:1.
أسكنوهن من حيث سكنتم من ودكم ولا تضروهن لتضيقوا عليهن وإن كن أولات حمل فأنفقوا عليهن حتى يضعن حملهن فإن أرضعن لكم فآتوهن أجورهن وأتمروا بينكم بمعروف وإن تعاسرتم فسترضع له أخرى.
Lodge them where you live according to your means and injure them not to straiten them. And if they are pregnant, spend on them until they give birth. This completes their waiting period. Then if they suckle the child in arrangement with you, give them their recompense and enjoin one another to do good. 65:6. After women have been divorced, it should be ensured that they retain an honorable status in life. Their right to live a life free of any restrictions must be respected.
وإذا طلقتم النساء فبلغن أجلهن فأمسكوهن بمعروف أو سرحوهن بمعروف ولا تمسكوهن ضرارا لتعتدوا ومن يفعل ذلك فقد ظلم نفسه ولا تتخذوا آيات الله هزوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم وما أنزل عليكم من الكتاب والحكمة يعظكم به واتقوا الله واعلموا أن الله بكل شيء عليم. وإذا طلقتم النساء فبلغن أجلهن فلا تعضلوهن أن ينكحن أزواجهن إذا تراضوا بينهم بالمعروف ذلك يوعظ به من كان منكم يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر ذلكم أزكى لكم وأطهر والله يعلم وأنتم لا تعلمون.
And when you divorce women and they reach their prescribed time, then retain them in kindness or set them free with kindness and retain them not for injury. To injure them would be exceeding the hudud limits of Allah. Remember that if you do resort to this, its consequences will recoil on you. And prevent them not from marrying the husbands of their choice if they agree among themselves in a lawful manner. 2:231-232. There may be occasions on which a divorce takes place before any type of sexual relationships have been cemented. Although no obligations on either side are apparent, a man is asked to be generous if he can gracefully do so.
جناح عليكم إن طلقتم النساء ما لم تمسوهن أو تفرضوا لهن فريضة ومتعوهن على الموسع قدره وعلى المقتر قدره متاعا بالمعروف حقا على المحسنين وإن طلقتموهن من قبل أن تمسوهن وقد فرضتم لهن فريضة فنصف ما فرضتم إلا أن يعفون أو يعفو الذي بيده عقدة النكاح وأن تعفوا أقرب للتقوى ولا تنسوا الفضل بينكم إن الله بما تعملون بصير.
There is no blame on you if you divorce women while, yet you have not touched them, nor appointed for them a marriage gift. And, provide for them, the wealthy according to his means and the strained according to his. And, if you divorce them before you have touched them and you have appointed for them a marriage gift, pay half of what you have appointed unless they forego it or the state, which countersigned your marriage deed, forgives it. But if you forego, and thus let the divorced woman have her full share of marriage gift, it is nearer to dutifulness, taqwa.
2:236-237.
It may be mentioned in passing that in case a divorce takes place before sexual relationships are consummated, there is no waiting period, iddat, for woman.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نكحتم المؤمنات ثم طلقتموهن من قبل أن تمسوهن فما لكم عليهن من عدة تعتدونها فمتعوهن وسرحوهن سراحا جميلا.
O you who believe, when you marry believing women, then divorce them before you touch them, there is no waiting period for them.
But do make provisions for them and set them free in graceful manner. 33:49.
Waiting period, that, is also suggested for those women who have not had periods for a long time either due to old age or some sort of an illness.
واللائي يئسن من المحيض من نسائكم إن أرتبتم فعدتهن 3 أشهر واللائي لم يحضن وأولات الأحمال أجلهن أن يضعن حملهن ومن يتق الله يجعل له من أمره يسرا.
And those of your women who despair of menstruation, if you have a doubt, their prescribed time is 3 months, and of those two who have not had their courses.
65:4.
A general misconception about Islamic law is that husbands are allowed to beat their wives for some reasons. The fact of the matter is that for smooth running of a household, the Quran has suggested a distribution of duties between men and women. As a rule, men are asked to earn a living, and women are asked to manage the household and bring up children. Both have an obligation to fulfill each other's requirement for sexual relationship, and women have an obligation to produce children, if there is nothing serious preventing them from having them. If women appear to be shirking their duties, men have a right to ask for such a position to be put right. And if men appear to be neglecting their part of the agreement, women must be able to demand their right.
واللاتي تخافون نشوزهن فعظوهن واهجروهن في المضاجع واضربوهن فإن أطعنكم فلا تبغوا عليهن سبيلا إن الله كان عليا كبيرا.
And if you fear that women are not fulfilling their part of the agreement in conjugal life, let them be advised by members of society appointed for this purpose. If they do not heed this advice, men may leave them alone in their beds.
If this also does not work, the matter can go to court, which can award physical punishment if necessary.
So, when they start performing their duties, seek not a way against them.
434.
The institution of a reconciliation council is mentioned in 435, and it has already been discussed.
The point to note is that husbands are not being allowed to take any unilateral actions.
It may be argued that a possible physical punishment for this dereliction of duties seems to be very severe. The Quran takes full responsibility for suggesting such a course of action to deal with extreme cases, and it would be interesting to know what other thinkers suggest as remedy for such a situation. Men are also reprehensible if they do not appear to be doing their bit for smooth running of household.
وإن امرأة خافت من بعلها نشوزا أو إعراضا فلا جناح عليهما أن يصلح بينهما صلحا والصلح خير وأحضرت الأنفس الشح.
And if a wife feels that her husband is not fulfilling his part of agreement and is neglecting her, there is no reason why society should not intervene to bring about peace among them. Peace is preferable to a continuation of a state of uncertainty.
4:128.
As a cardinal principle, men and women have, unless otherwise stated, similar rights and obligations. In this case, I consider that if a man does not mend his ways, he is, like in the case of a woman, also liable to be brought to justice and receive the same type of punishment as is awarded to women, when necessary, in extreme cases. I draw this conclusion from the general Quranic principle regarding rights and obligations of men and women.
ولهن مثل الذي عليهن بالمعروف وللرجال عليهن درجة.
And women have rights similar to those against them in a just manner, and men have marginally better rights than women. They do not have a waiting period, iddat, for instance.
2:228. The Quran recommends that when two persons enter into business, they should cause the agreement to be written down. Two reliable persons must bear witness to such transaction.
They should preferably be men because they frequently indulge in business in the normal course of their lives. But if two men are not conveniently at hand, then there should be at least one male and two females. One female as witness and the other to help her if necessary. This is so because, in normal circumstances, women do not indulge in business in routine. When the female witness is being cross-examined in court, she is entitled to have her helper to assist her if she is confused in factual matters.
واستشهدوا شهيدين من رجالكم فإن لم يكونا رجلين فرجل وامرأتان ممن ترضون من الشهداء أن تضل إحداهما فتذكر إحداهما الأخرى.
And call to witness from among your men 2 witnesses, but if there are not 2 men, then 1 man and 2 women from amongst those whom you choose to be witnesses, so that if one of them, the witness, errs, the other, helper, may remind her.
2:282.
It may be borne in mind that in all cases other than business transaction, women have as much a right to be witnesses as men. And there is no restriction of 2 women against 1 man. Polygamy was a normal part of Arab culture before the Quran recommended monogamy as a rule and not more than 4 wives as an exception under certain clearly stated circumstances.
There was no restriction on the number of wives a person could marry in pre-Islamic society.
The Messenger, peace be upon him, and many of his companions had more than 4 wives. This was made necessary because a lot of Muslims men were killed in wars and their widows had to be taken in protection. When the Quran restricted the number to 4, this instruction was not retrospective. So, if the Messenger, peace be upon him, had 8 or 9 wives, there was nothing unusual about it. The wives were given a choice to remain wedded to the Messenger, peace be upon him, if they were prepared to share his simple and indigent life. If they were looking for a more affluent living, they were welcome to do so and the Messenger, peace be upon him, would part with them with grace.
يا أيها النبي قل لأزواجك إن كنتن تردن الحياة الدنيا وزينتها فتعالين أمتعكن وأسرحكن سراحا جميلا وإن كنتن تردن الله ورسوله والدار الآخرة فإن الله أعد للمحسنات منكن أجرا عظيما.
O Nabi, say to your wives, if you wish to live an affluent life with all its adornments, I will give you provisions that I can afford and allow you to depart in a graceful manner. But if you wish to continue to live a life agreeable to God and His Messenger, peace be upon him, this will be good for you in the long run. Surely, Allah has prepared for the doers of good among you, a mighty reward. 33:28-29. But they must know that if they prefer to stick with the Messenger, peace be upon him, they will have to set an example of chaste and simple living and any failing on their part will bring with it double the normal punishment.
يا نساء النبي من يأتي منكن بفاحشة مبينة يضاعف لها العذاب ضعفين وكان ذلك على الله يسيرا ومن يقنت منكن لله ورسوله وتعمل صالحا نؤتها أجرها مرتين وأعتدنا لها رزقا كريما. يا نساء النبي لستن كأحد من النساء إن اتقيتن فلا تخضعن بالقول فيطمع الذي في قلبه مرض وقلن قولا معروفا وقرن في بيوتكن ولا تبرجن تبرج الجاهلية الأولى وأقمن الصلاة وآتينا الزكاة وأطعن الله ورسوله إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا.
O wives of the Nabi, whoever of you is guilty of manifestly improper conduct, the chastisement will be double for her. And, whoever of you is obedient to Allah and His Messenger and does good, we shall give her a double reward and we have prepared for her an honorable sustenance.
O wives of the Nabi, you are not like any other women, if you would keep your duty.
Be not soft in speech, lest he in whose heart is a disease yearn. And, stay with grace in your house and manage it in a good manner and display not your beauty like the displaying of ignorance of your.
33:30-33.
There is general misconception that Messenger Muhammad, peace be upon him, was accorded some preferences in the matter of his marriage.
This is not true.
The Messenger, peace be upon him, is bound by the same rules and regulations regarding matrimonial affairs as other believers except in 1 or 2 matters.
يا أيها النبي إنا أحللنا لك أزواجك التي آتيت أجورهن وما ملكت يمينك مما أفاء الله عليك وبنات عمك وبنات عماتك وبنات خالك وبنات خالاتك التي هاجرن معك وامرأة مؤمنة إن وهبت نفسها للنبي إن أراد النبي أن يستنكحها خالصة لك من دون المؤمنين قد علمنا ما فرضنا عليهم في أزواجهم وما ملكت أيمانهم لكي لا يكون عليك حرج وكان الله غفورا رحيما.
O Nabi, we have made lawful to you your wives whom you have given their marriage gifts and also lawful are those whom your right hand possesses out of those whom Allah has given you as prisoners of war.
So far, this is equally applicable for other Muslims.
A special privilege for you is that you can marry a Muslim woman who wishes to get married to you without receiving a marriage gift.
And a special restriction on you is that you can marry only those daughters of your paternal and maternal aunts and uncles as have migrated from Mecca to Medina.
These 2 instructions are special to you.
33:50.
It is not true that only the Messenger, peace be upon him, was allowed to retain all his wives, more than 4, when the Quran restricted the maximum numbers of wives to 4. This retention was allowed to all Muslims alike. The Messenger wives were given an option to part from the Messenger, peace be upon him, if they could not live in the stringent conditions offered in his household. The Messenger, peace be upon him, is also given an option to part with such of his wives whom he considers would not fit in a presidential household.
ترجي من تشاء منهن وتؤوي إليك من تشاء ومن ابتغيت ممن عزلت فلا جناح عليك ذلك أدنى أن تقر أعينهن ولا يحزن ويرضين بما آتيتهن كلهن والله يعلم ما في قلوبكم وكان الله عليما حليما.
You may part with whomsoever you consider it is proper, of course, by complying with the law regarding marriage gift, and retain those whom you judge can live with you in harmony. 33:51. After all these arrangements have been finalized, it must be clearly understood that neither the Messenger, peace be upon him, can marry any more wives, nor his wives can marry any other men.
لا يحل لك النساء من بعد ولا أن تبدل بهن من أزواج ولو أعجبك حسنهن إلا ما ملكت يمينك.
It is not allowed to you to take wives after this, nor to change them for other wives though their beauty be pleasing to you. 33:52. The Messenger, peace be upon him, wives are for Muslims like their mothers.
النبي أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم وأزواجه أمهاتهم.
And the Nabi is closer to the faithful than their own selves and his wives are like mothers to them. 33:6. They are prohibited to ever take them in marriage after they have been married to the Messenger, peace be upon him.
ولا أن تنكحوا أزواجه من بعده أبدا إن ذلكم كان عند الله عظيما.
Nor to marry his wives after him ever. 33:53. This provision was known to the messengers, peace be upon him, wives when they were given an option to part or remain. The Messenger, peace be upon him, had an adopted son by the name Zaid. He got married to a lady of his choice. He wished to part with her because, in his opinion, the marriage was not a success. Muslims tried to bring about reconciliation between the couple. The Messenger, peace be upon him, himself advised his adopted son to try and stick with the marriage. Zaid, respectfully, declined. He divorced his wife according to law. After this event, the Messenger, peace be upon him, took this lady in marriage. There was no big deal in all this. The Quran makes a brief reference to this event because God wishes to point out that an adopted son is not your real son and hence it is lawful for you to marry their former wives.
وإذ تقول للذي أنعم الله عليه وأنعمت عليه أمسك عليك زوجك واتق الله وتخفي في نفسك ما الله مبديه وتخشى الناس والله أحق أن تخشاه فلما قضى زيد منها وطرا زوجناكها لكي لا يكون على المؤمنين حرج في أزواج أدعيائهم إذا قضوا منهن وطرا وكان أمر الله مفعولا.
And when you said to him whom Allah had shown favor and to whom you had shown a favor, keep your wife to yourself and keep your duty to Allah. So, when Zaid dissolved his marriage tie, we give her to you as wife so that there should be no difficulty for the believers about the wives of their adopted sons, when they have dissolved their marriage tie. 33:37. This small event has been turned into quite a scandal by those who do not wish the Messenger, peace be upon him, well. But this is not all. An absolute non-event has been turned into a bigger scandal to tarnish the Messenger's, peace be upon him, image as a husband.
إن الذين جاءوا بالإفك عصبة منكم وأن الله رؤوف رحيم.
Surely those who concocted a lie are a party among you. 24:11-20. The Muslims are exhorted not to listen to rumors. And bit of information must be looked into in great detail before being accepted as true. It is understandable when non-Muslims concoct a myth and make up a scandalous story about one of the messengers, peace be upon him, wives where no reference to any such event exists in the Quran. What is amazing is why Muslims should lap up this weird story, the less said about which non-event the better. This innocuous verse from the Quran is quoted as an authority to prove authenticity for the myth of the messengers, peace be upon him, annoyance with one of his wives. I am referring to the so-called incident of IFK involving Aisha Siddiqa, the messenger's, peace be upon him, wife. The Quran makes no reference whatsoever to such an incident. The Quran roundly condemns sexual relations outside marriage.
ولا تقربوا الزنا إنه كان فاحشة وساء سبيلا.
And go not nigh to fornication,
This is crossing the limits set by God. It is an evil way of life. 1732. The Quran not only forbids adultery but also enjoins men and women not to go near it, thus avoiding all those opportunities which are likely to tempt to fall into this evil. Free intermingling of the sexes in which they exhibit sex in a tempting manner is discouraged. Good Muslims never have sex outside marriage.
ولا يقتلون النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق ولا يزنون ومن يفعل ذلك يلقى أثاما.
And they do not have sex outside marriage. 25:68. The Quran considers adultery to be such a serious offense that it proceeds to suggest a punishment.
الزانية والزاني فاجلدوا كل واحد منهما 100 جلدة ولا تأخذكم بهما رأفة في دين الله إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر وليشهد عذابهما طائفة من المؤمنين.
The adulteress and the adulterer flog each of them with 100 stripes, and let not pity for them detain you from awarding this punishment as suggested by God, if you believe in Him and the day of reckoning. And, let a party of believers witness their chastisement. 24:2. Indulgence in free sex results in corruption of the society and breakdown in strong family relationships, leading to violent crimes and breakdown of law and order. If a little physical punishment can stop this crime, the Quran does not consider it to be a severe step. Stoning to death is not prescribed by the Quran as a punishment for adultery. In fact, suggesting such a punishment is a flagrant violation of a clear Quranic edict. The Quran also condemns homosexuality, although it does not proceed to suggest a specific punishment for it. It is left to the people of all ages to do so, if they consider it necessary.
ولوطا إذ قال لقومه أتأتون الفاحشة ما سبقكم بها من أحد من العالمين إنكم لتأتون الرجال شهوة من دون النساء بل أنتم قوم مسرفون.
And we said Lot, when he said to his people, Do you commit an abomination which no one in the world did before you? You come to males with lust instead of females. You are a people exceeding all bounds. 7:80-81. The act of sex should be restricted between a husband and a wife.
أتأتون الذكران من العالمين وتذرون ما خلق لكم ربكم من أزواجكم بل أنتم قوم عادون.
Do you come to the males from among the creatures? And leave your wives whom your nourisher has created for you. Nay, you are a people exceeding limits. 26:165-166. The Quran asks Muslims to shrug drugs and easy money.
يسألونك عن الخمر والميسر قل فيهما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس وإثمهما أكبر من نفعهما.
They ask you about drugs, which affect your reasoning power, and money that you can easily make without hard work. Tell them both of them will result in great weakness for you, although in the short term they may look to be conferring advantage on you. The great weakness inherent in them is much more injurious for you as compared to the little advantage that appears to accrue to you. 2:219. The Quran does not specify the various means of making easy money or things or activities resulting in intoxication. These change with time, but their effect is constant in all ages. Reasonable people would be well advised not to go near these two evils.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه لعلكم تفلحون إنما يريد الشيطان أن يوقع بينكم العداوة والبغضاء في الخمر والميسر.
O you who believe, intoxicants and games of chance are only uncleanness, the devil's work, so shun them and it will be good for you. The devil desires only to create enmity and hatred among you by means of intoxicants and games of chance. 5:90-91. Khamr, which has been translated as intoxicant, is actually any drug, drink, eatable or activity which clouds or obscures your understanding and reasoning power. This comes up more clearly in 4:43.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى حتى تعلموا ما تقولون.
O you who believe, do not go near assemblies for consultation, salat, when you are in a state of intoxication until you know what you are talking about. 4:43. There is no truth in a misguided belief, generally held, that intoxicants and easy money were prohibited in stages, allowing their limited use in earlier passages and then, by amending these passages, to impose a total ban. No one passage of the Quran cancels or amends another passage. The ban was complete in the first instance,
and there is no permission for a limited use anywhere. Both these practices not only harm the individuals who indulge in them but also corrupt the social fabric of communities. The Quran treats them as social evils, and although no punishment is specifically laid down, the spirit of the ban suggests that societies would be well advised to treat them as punishable offenses. God advises the people to set up a society in which humans are treated with dignity and their lives are safe. Blood must not be shed except for genuine reasons.
وإذ أخذنا ميثاقكم لا تسفكون دماءكم ولا تخرجون أنفسكم من دياركم ثم أقررتم وأنتم تشهدون ثم أنتم هؤلاء تقتلون أنفسكم وتخرجون فريقا منكم من ديارهم.
And when we made a covenant with you, you shall not shed your blood nor turn your people out of your cities, then you promised, and you bear witness. Yet, you it is who would slay your people and turn a party from among you out of their homes. 2:84-85. In a lawful society, peaceful citizens pledge to live by the law. The law must provide that taking the life of another individual is a culpable offense. The Quran proceeds to suggest a punishment.
وما كان لمؤمن أن يقتل مؤمنا إلا خطأ ومن قتل مؤمنا خطأ فتحرير رقبة مؤمنة ودية مسلمة إلى أهله إلا أن يصدقوا فإن كان من قوم عدو لكم وهو مؤمن فتحرير رقبة مؤمنة وإن كان من قوم بينكم وبينهم ميثاق فدية مسلمة إلى أهله وتحرير رقبة مؤمنة فمن لم يجد فصيام.
And a believer must not kill another believer except by mistake. And he who kills a believer by mistake should free a believing slave, when slavery has not yet completely been eliminated, and blood money should be paid to his people except if the claimants remit it as an act of grace. But, if he is from a tribe hostile to you, and he is a believer, the freeing of a believing slave suffices. And, if he be from a tribe between whom and you there is a covenant, the blood money should be paid to his people along with the freeing of a believing slave, but he who has not the means should fast for 2 consecutive months. And whosoever kills a believer intentionally, his punishment is hell, abiding therein. 4:92-93. It will be noticed that there is no provision for payment of blood money to escape from the consequences of a deliberate murder. Those who are rendered helpless as a result of murder of an innocent man will be rehabilitated according to the law of the land. But the murderer must suffer the fullest consequence for his action.
وكتبنا عليهم فيها أن النفس بالنفس والعين بالعين والأنف بالأنف والأذن بالأذن والسن بالسن والجروح قصاص فمن تصدق به فهو كفارة له.
And we had prescribed to them, the people of the book, in their books, applicable to you, that life is for life, and eye for eye, and nose for nose, and ear for ear, and tooth for tooth, and for wounds similar retaliation. But, if the one who has been harmed wishes to forego, then this act will expiate the punishment of the wrongdoer. 5:45. And do not think that these punishments are harsh. These will ensure a peaceful life for societies. If being harsh to a few wrongdoers as a punishment for their crime can result in a peaceful life for the rest of the society, so be it. A deliberate murder of one innocent man is tantamount to the murder of a whole humanity, says the Quran.
من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا.
For this reason, we prescribed for the children of Israel that whosoever kills a person, unless it be for manslaughter or for mischief in the land, it is as though he had killed all men. And whosoever saves a life, it is though he had saved the lives of all men. 5:32.
ولكم في القصاص حياة يا أولي الألباب لعلكم تتقون.
And when you follow the deliberate murderer to his bitter end, it results in a renewal of life for the society. 2:179. This is why the Quran enjoins upon the Muslims to follow the murderer till the logical end, whoever the victim may be, a Muslim, a non-Muslim, a free man, a slave, until slavery was not fully eliminated. And let nobody commit this crime and then escape the consequences because of his wealth and power. It is the duty of the state to fulfill this obligation, and no consideration of any kind must be allowed to interfere with the requirements of justice.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم القصاص في القتل الحر بالحر والعبد بالعبد والأنثى بالأنثى فمن عفي له من أخيه شيء فاتباع بالمعروف وأداء إليه بإحسان.
O believers, you must follow the murderer until the ends of justice are met in the matter of the slain, the free for the free, and the slave for the slave, and the female for the female. In the case of homicide not amounting to murder, if some remission is made by the relatives of the slain, it should be allowed according to law.
2:178
ولا تقتلوا النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق ومن قتل مظلوما فقد جعلنا لوليه سلطانا فلا يسرف في القتل إنه كان منصورا.
And kill not any person whose killing is not allowed by the law of Allah.
And, whoever is slain unjustly, we have appointed the state as the retaliating authority on behalf of his heirs. The state will surely not rest till justice is done, but let it not exceed in the matter of retaliation.
1733 Stealing is another crime for which the Quran has suggested a punishment.
When such an economic system is set up which guarantees basic means of honorable living to all, there be no reason for stealing. Hard work is compensated by a dignified wage. People who are temporarily deprived of means of making money are, as a matter of right, rehabilitated until they can again become useful members of the society. In such an environment, nobody should be allowed to deprive others of their lawful income. They must be prevented from doing so.
والسارق والسارقة فاقطعوا أيديهما جزاء بما كسبا نكالا من الله والله عزيز حكيم.
As for men and women who steal, take such steps that in future they are prevented from resorting to theft.
There should be such a fit punishment for their crime that it deters others from doing so.
But whosoever retraces his steps after having committed this crime, and works for the good of humanity, Allah will reward his good action.
5:38-39
As to what steps society will take to prevent different types of thefts under various circumstances, it is left entirely at their discretion. The steps might well include the physical cutting of hands in extreme cases. I must explain here that I have translated the Quranic injunction factuid huma as take such steps that in future they are prevented from resorting to theft.
This is a perfectly legitimate translation of the word kata, which expression has many connotations including preventing and cutting. The Quran places restrictions on some eatables and allows full use of all others.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم واشكروا لله إن كنتم إياه تعبدون إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل به لغير الله فمن اضطر غير باغ ولا عاد فلا إثم عليه إن الله غفور رحيم.
O you who believe, eat of the things which we have provided to you and which you like and make the best use of things provided. He has forbidden you only what dies of itself. And blood, and the flesh of swine, and that over which any other name than that of Allah has been invoked. Then whoever is driven by necessity, not desiring, nor exceeding the limit, there is no harm in that. 2:172-173 What dies of itself has been mentioned in more detail in chapter 3 of the Quran.
حرمت عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل لغير الله به والمنخنقة والموقوذة والمتردية والنطيحة وما أكل السبع إلا ما ذكيتم وما ذبح على النصب وأن تستقسموا بالأزلام ذلكم فسق.
Forbidden is to you that which dies of itself in blood, and the strangled animals, and that beaten to death, and that killed by a fall, and that killed by goring with the horn, and that which wild beasts have eaten, except what you slaughter, and that which is sacrificed on stones set up for idols, and that you seek to divide by arrows.
5:3
The implications of ma yuhilalu gorilla bay need to be given deep thought.
We translate it as that on which any other name than that of Allah has been invoked, and in practice we maintain that at the time of slaughter we must recite Bismillah Allahu Akbar, in the name of Allah who is great, otherwise the meat is forbidden for eating. This does not appear to be correct thinking. We are allowed to eat meals offered in the homes of the people of the book.
أهل لغير الله به والمنخنقة.
This day all things which you like to eat, except those forbidden, are made lawful to you.
And the food of those who have been given the book is lawful for you and your food is lawful for them. 5:3 The people of the book certainly do not formally recite the words which we do at the time of slaughter. I venture to say that invocation of the name of Allah implies that slaughter should take place cleanly, in clean places, in a scientific manner so that the meat is healthy, and it should be handled and packed, if necessary, in a healthy manner. This would be in accordance with the laws of Allah, and that is what is important. Of course, one important implication is that animals being slaughtered must not be offerings to idols or institutions of a similar nature. Another important point to note is that the list of things forbidden for eating is complete as given in the Quran. Any alteration of this list is strictly forbidden.
إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل لغير الله به فمن اضطر غير باغ ولا عاد فإن الله غفور رحيم ولا تقولوا لما تصف ألسنتكم الكذب هذا حلال وهذا حرام لتفتروا على الله الكذب إن الذين يفترون على الله الكذب لا يفلحون.
The only things forbidden to you are what dies of itself, and blood, and the flesh of swine, and that over which any other names than that of Allah has been invoked.
And utter not, for what your tongues describe, the lie, this is lawful and this unlawful, so that you may forge a lie against God. 16:115-116.
Of course, you are not compelled to eat all of what Allah has made lawful to you.
You eat only what you personally like to eat.
For certain health or other reasons, societies may temporarily ban the eating of certain lawful things for a period of time.
But this is not to be a permanent feature. Even the messenger is not authorized to make unlawful what Allah has made lawful.
يا أيها النبي لما تحرم ما أحل الله لك.
O Nabi, why do you forbid that which Allah has made lawful or you? 66:1. However, it may be noted that Allah has chosen to forbid hunting during the period of pilgrimage.
أحل لكم صيد البحر وطعامه متاعا لكم وللسيارة وحرم عليكم صيد البر ما دمتم حرما واتقوا الله الذي إليه تحشرون.
Lawful to you is the game of the sea and its food, a provision for you and for the travelers, and the game of the land is forbidden to you so long as you are on pilgrimage. 596. Business, morality and credibility in transactions of all kinds is stressed in the Quran.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا.
O you who believe, keep your duty and speak straight words. 33:70. You should be men of your words.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا لم تقولون ما لا تفعلون كبر مقتا عند الله أن تقولوا ما لا تفعلون.
O you who believe, why should you give your word when you do not intend to act accordingly?
It is most hateful in the sight of Allah that you say that which you do not do. 61:2-3. If you have made a promise, you must fulfill it.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا أوفوا بالعقود.
O you who believe, fulfill your obligations. 5:1.
You have obligations in business, to your family, to your enemies whom you have given your word, and this must be kept under all circumstances.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون.
O you who believe, be upright for Allah, bearers of witness with justice.
Let not even hatred of a people incite you not to act equitably. Be just. That is nearer to observance of duty. 5:8.
When it comes to doing business, it is best if you reduce your terms to writing and have such agreements witnessed. After having done that, be sure to strictly stick to agreements.
أوفوا الكيل ولا تكونوا من المخسرين وزنوا بالقسطاس المستقيم ولا تبخسوا الناس أشياءهم ولا تعثوا في الأرض مفسدين.
Give full measure and be not of those who diminish. And weigh with a true balance. And wrong not men of their dues and act not corruptly in the earth, making mischief. 26:181-183.
وأوفوا الكيل والميزان بالقسط لا نكلف نفسا إلا وسعها وإذا قلتم فاعدلوا ولو كان ذا قربى وبعهد الله أوفوا.
And give full measurement and weigh with equity. And when you speak, be just, though it may be against a relative. 6:153. The Quran goes a step further.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم.
O you who believe, be maintainers of justice, bearers of witness for Allah even though it be against your own selves or your parents or your near relatives.
4:135. Business morality is emphasized in numerous passages in the Quran.
When talking of rise and fall of nations, the Quran has stated that in nearly each case, nations have fallen from their high status when they have started being dishonest in business. There are many occasions on which the Quran asks Muslims to sit together in conferences and consult each other.
To introduce decency in such gatherings, the Quran offers some advice.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا تناجيتم فلا تتناجوا بالإثم والعدوان ومعصية الرسول وتناجوا بالبر والتقوى واتقوا الله الذي إليه تحشرون إنما النجوة من الشيطان ليحزن الذين آمنوا وليس بضرهم شيئا إلا بإذن الله وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قيل لكم تفسحوا في المجالس فافسحوا يفسح الله لكم وإذا قيل انشزوا فانشزوا يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات والله بما تعملون خبير يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا ناجيتم الرسول فقدموا بين يدي نجواكم صدقة ذلك خير لكم وأطهر فإن لم تجدوا فإن الله غفور رحيم.
O you who believe, when you confer together in private, give not to each other counsel of sin and revolt and disobedience to the messenger, but give to each other counsel of goodness and observance of duty. When it is said to you, make room in assemblies, do not sit as if you are conspiring, make room, and when you are asked to disperse, do so. When you consult the messenger on private matter, offer something in charity before your consultation. But, if you do not have the means, do consult anyway. 58:9-12. The matter of offering charity before taking up the chief executive's time is interesting. It might well mean in modern times to lessen pressure on executives' time when their advice is sought on matters of a private nature. The Treasury would get something in lieu of the time spent by state executive while offering advice. The state would, of course, have to make arrangements for free advice for indigent people. The Quran lays great stress on unity of thought and purpose in the whole of humanity. In the symbolic story on creation of mankind, the very first thing humans are advised to avoid is shajara, that is, a tendency for them to tear away from their fellow beings when their personal, selfish ends conflict with the collective good of people as a group. The tree, shajar, remains a tree only when its branches remain part of a single root. Humanity, as envisaged by the Quran, is one single unit, having a common goal, viz. the achievement of a peaceful and prosperous way of living for the entire mankind. This is only possible when all agrees upon a broad set of rules, and an infringement of such rules is not allowed to any set of people for the advancement of their separate, selfish interest.
وإن هذه أمتكم أمة واحدة وأنا ربكم فاتقوني فتقطعوا أمرهم بينهم زبرا كل حزب بما لديهم فرحون فذرهم في غمرتهم حتى حين.
And this your set of people has always been a single set of people with the same root, with a common ideology that they all believed in one God, one set of broad fundamental value system, and their aim was collectively to live by the values of that one God. Over a period of time, they parted ways. They adopted different sets of rules to suit their selfish purposes at the cost of collective good. And now each separate set of people is glibly following their own path, considering it be the best. Leave them to their foolish selfish thinking. The results of this wrong action of theirs will make it clear to them as to which set of people is on the right path. 23:52-54. As a way of life cannot be imposed on people against their will, the Quran asks at least the Muslims to hold fast together. So long as they all believe in the same higher value system, they should not divide themselves on the basis of blood, language, color, or nationality. No ethnic considerations of any kind should be allowed to disrupt their unity. Other people who do not believe in the same values as you do will try and tear you apart. Even so, you must not force your views on them. Instead, leave them, do their machinations, and do not have any truck with them.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا بطانة من دونكم لا يألونكم خبالا ودوا ما عنتم قد بدت البغضاء من أفواههم وما تخفي صدورهم أكبر قد بينا لكم الآيات إن كنتم تعقلونها أنتم أولئك تحبونهم ولا يحبونكم وتؤمنون بالكتاب كله وإذا لقوكم قالوا آمنا وإذا خلوا عضوا عليكم الأنامل من الغيظ قل موتوا بغيظكم إن الله عليم بذات الصدور.
O you who believe, take not for intimate friends others than your own people. They spare no pain to cause you loss. They love that which distresses you. Lo! You are they who will love them while they love you not. If good befalls you, it grieves them, and if an evil afflicts you, they rejoice at it. 3:118-119. The Quran advises the Muslims to avoid not only intimate relationship with such people but also to avoid their company if they insist on not taking divine values seriously.
وقد نزل عليكم في الكتاب أن إذا سمعتم آيات الله يكفر بها ويستهزأ بها فلا تقعدوا معهم حتى يخوضوا في حديث غيره إنكم إذا مثلهم.
And indeed, he has revealed to you in the book that when you hear Allah's messages disbelieved in and mocked at, sit not with them until they enter into some other discourse, for then indeed you would be like them. 140. How does one differentiate people who would give a priority to their selfish interest from those who would prefer the common good of mankind? The Quran gives a clear guideline.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا آباءكم وإخوانكم أولياء إن استحبوا الكفر على الإيمان ومن يتولهم منكم فأولئك هم الظالمون قل إن كان آباؤكم وأبناؤكم وإخوانكم وأزواجكم وعشيرتكم وأموال أقترفتموها وتجارة تخشون كسادها ومساكن ترضونها أحب إليكم من الله ورسوله وجهاد في سبيله فتربصوا حتى يأتي الله بأمره والله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين.
O you who believe, take not your fathers and your brothers for friends if they love disbelief above faith. And, whoever of you takes them for friends, such are wrongdoers. Say, if your fathers and your sons and your brethren and your wives and your kinsfolk and the wealth you have acquired in trade whose dullness you fear, and dwellings you love, are dearer to you than Allah, and His eternal value system, and His messenger in striving in His way, then wait until Allah brings His command to pass. 9:23-24. In an imperfect world, a man will have to make a choice between telling a truth or a lie, being honest or dishonest, bearing true evidence or avoiding it, help the needy or ignore him, exploit the weak or give him his full due. The Quran advises intimate friendship and company with those who make a correct choice, even though it may be disadvantageous in the short haul. Laws of nature will take their own course. Just because good actions seem not to be profitable and wrong actions seem to be more advantageous, does not mean that a good man should stop acting according to a good value system. On the other hand, all good men should strive to change a system, which rewards evil. And, if the wrongdoers insist on their evil ways while the good men are trying to bring about a better system, the good men should say,
وإن كذبوك فقل لي عملي ولكم عملكم أنتم بريئون مما أعمل وأنا بريء مما تعملون.
And if they reject you, say, my work is for me and your work for you. You are clear of what I do, and I am clear of what you do. 1041. We will both stand by the long-term consequences of our actions, and we firmly believe that in the final analysis, we will be proved right. In the chapter outlining a political value system by the Quran, we have defined a method of framing laws. Such laws are to be enforced by an executive. Individuals do not frame or enforce laws, institutions do. The Quran enjoins such an institution.
ولتكن منكم أمة يدعون إلى الخير ويأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر وأولئك هم المفلحون.
You should be a set of people who invite others towards law. Then make people live by the law as given by God and prevent people from taking such actions as are not permitted by God. 3:104. In fact, such institutions must not be restricted to Muslim countries alone. These should be universal.
كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله ولو آمن أهل الكتاب لكان خيرا لهم منهم المؤمنون وأكثرهم الفاسقون.
Laws of God are automatically enforced in others than humans. But for the betterment of humanity, you should take it upon yourself to invite entire humanity towards an excellent value system beneficial to entire humanity. Make them do good and prevent them from doing wrong. It would be better for other people wanting to live by the law to believe in the value system offered by you. Some of them have already done so. 3:110. Such an international system cannot, however, be enforced. It has to come about with the willingness of a set of people who wish to live by an international law. Here are the terms of a United Nations offered by the Quran many years ago. We have discussed the permanent value system suggested by the Quran to regulate the social sphere of an Islamic society. A very vital part of social interaction among Muslims and with non-Muslim is the so-called 5 pillars of Islam. The Quran does not use this expression, which I shall discuss in a separate chapter. Before I conclude the Quranic value system regulating social spheres, I am tempted to quote a little extensively from the Quran chapter 17, which summarizes these values in a way that only the Quran can do.
وقضى ربك لا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة وقل رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا ربكم أعلم بما في نفوسكم إن تكونوا صالحين فإنه كان للأوابين غفورا وآت ذا القربى حقه والمسكين وابن السبيل ولا تبذر تبذيرا إن المبذرين كانوا إخوان الشياطين وكان الشيطان لربه كفورا وإما تعرضن عنهم ابتغاء رحمة من ربك ترجوها فقل لهم قولا ميسورا ولا تجعل يدك مغلولة إلى عنقك ولا تبسطها كل البسط فتقعد ملوما محسورا إن ربك يبسط الرزق لمن يشاء ويقدر إنه كان بعباده خبيرا بصيرا ولا تقتلوا أولادكم خشية إملاق نحن نرزقهم وإياكم إن قتلهم كان خطأ كبيرا ولا تقربوا الزنا إنه كان فاحشة وساء سبيلا ولا تقتلوا النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق ومن قتل مظلوما فقد جعلنا لوليه سلطانا فلا يسرف في القتل إنه كان منصورا ولا تقربوا مال اليتيم إلا بالتي هي أحسن حتى يبلغ أشده وأوفوا بالعهد إن العهد كان مسؤولا وأوفوا الكيل إذا كلتم وزنوا بالقسطاس المستقيم ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا ولا تقف ما ليس لك به علم إن السمع والبصر والفؤاد كل أولئك كان عنه مسؤولا ولا تمشي في الأرض مرحا إنك لن تخرق الأرض ولن تبلغ الجبال طولا.
And your nourisher has decreed that you serve none but him and do good to parents. If either or both of them reach old age with you, say not fie to them, nor chide them. And speak to them a generous word. And lower to them the wing of humility out of nourishment. And say, my nourisher, have mercy on them as they brought me up when I was little. Your nourisher knows best what is in your minds. If you are righteous, his law will provide you the fullest protection and bring about best results. And give to the near of kin his due and to the needy and to the wayfarer. And squander not wastefully. Those who squander national resources are the devil's brethren, and the devil ever teaches ungratefulness to his nourisher. And if the needy approach you at a time when you cannot afford to attend to their needs, do not make your hand to be shackled to your neck nor stretch it forth to the utmost limit of its stretching forth. In the case of stringiness, all will blame you, and in case you spend more than you should, you will be sorry for yourself. Surely, your nourisher has arranged that there is no shortage of things to consume for those who work hard. Surely, he is ever aware, seer of his people. And do not hold your hands on the upbringing of your children for fear of becoming indigent. We provide for them and for you in plenty. All you need do is work hard and have a just economic system. Depriving your children of their upbringing in all respects would be a big failing in your part. And go riot night of fornication. Surely, it is an obscenity and an evil way. And kill not any people whose killing has been forbidden by Allah except for just cause. If anybody is killed without just cause, state must act vigorously on behalf of his relatives so that full justice is done, but state must be equitable in perusing the killer. Surely, the inheritors of the killed person will be provided full assistance. And fulfill you promise. Surely, you are fully reckonable with regard to your promise. And give full measure when you measure out, and weigh with a true balance. This is fair and better in the end. And follow not that of which you do not have firm knowledge. Surely, the hearing and the sight and the mind, all of these will be answerable why they believed in what they were not sure of. And go not about in the land exultingly, for you cannot rend the earth, nor reach the mountains in height. 17:23-37. Characteristics of a Momin. The Quran advocates a concept of one world in which human beings live in peace with one another. It would help if they all, of their own free will, subscribed to a common set of broad rules and regulations and agreed to live by this code of discipline. If everyone insisted that he was not prepared to bind himself to any code but was entitled to a freedom to live his own way of life, there would inevitably be a clash. This would interfere in the smooth progress of humanity towards peace and prosperity. A collective code of life in various spheres has been discussed in earlier chapters. Here, we will examine the advice offered by the Quran to each individual. The evolution of societies would, of course, be greatly facilitated if individuals, forming a part of that society, would all live their daily life according to an agreed set of rules. As already hinted before, the Quran concedes that such rules could be framed by human beings themselves, using their common sense, power of reasoning and experience. But this process would take a long time. Also, it might lead to schism, warfare, and loss of life before humans would arrive at an agreed-upon solution. History, so far, has proved that exactly this has happened. In spite of their best collective efforts, the humans are still struggling to find a common ground among themselves, resulting in the postponement of a peaceful and prosperous world they are all looking forward to. So, in order to economize in their efforts, they might be well advised to listen to an objective solution and try it out. Human beings wishing to live at peace with themselves and the other humans in the world, according to a set of agreed-upon laws, are termed as mu'min by the Quran. The Quranic mu'min is described as a person who a. believes in one set of broad values as revealed in the Quran by the one God, Iman Billah, conviction in God. b. believes that God has, since the dawn of civilization, been giving a broad set of values to all civilized people through his chosen messengers, Iman bil Kitab wa Rusul, conviction in messengers and revealed books. c. believes that, unfortunately, the people of the books prior the Quran could not preserve their books in their original text. Divine and human was mixed up in such books, and hence they were, as of now, not reliable in full as God's work. God's messenger Muhammad ensured that Quranic text was preserved in original. God also decided that Muhammad, peace be upon him, was to be the last messenger. From then onwards, people were to exercise their own best judgment for solving new problems facing them as time went by, keeping themselves within the broad value system given in the Quran, Khatmi Nubuwah, finality of messengerhood. d. believes that the forces of nature are at his command. With intelligence and hard work, he has to discover the bounties of nature as spread out in the universe and, in conjunction with the forces of nature, use those resources for the good of mankind. Man would have to acquire technical know-how of a very high order. This would enable him to harness the forces of nature and use them for his own benefit as well as for the benefit of mankind. God has assured mankind that the resources spread by him in the universe are limitless. All man has to do is to persistently work hard in harmony with laws of nature. He will never find God wanting in provision of adequate resources, Iman bil Malaika, conviction in angels. e. believes that constructive and beneficial actions as listed in the Quran will result in good, although at first sight it might appear as if they do not. Similarly, bad and harmful acts, as listed in the Quran, will result in disaster, although at first sight, they might appear to be beneficial, Iman bil Gaib, conviction in the unseen. f. believes that whatever the circumstances, the consequences of good or bad actions as listed by the immutable laws of nature given in the Quran, will appear. People will be rewarded or punished for their good or bad actions in this world, sooner or later and in the hereafter, if for some reason not possible in this world, Iman bil Akhirah, conviction in the hereafter. If a set of people has convictions as outlined above, they are asked to act in accordance with divine instructions. When they act according to these convictions, they will be termed as mu'mins, the believers. Mu'mins are not ordered into a conviction. They are asked to exercise their judgment even when a divine instruction is conveyed to them.
والذين إذا ذكروا بآيات ربهم لم يخروا عليها صما وعميانا.
And they who, when reminded of the messages of their nourisher, fall not down thereat deaf and blind. 25:73. However, divine laws are based on logic. If a certain divine instruction does not seem to be logical to them, it is because they are not fully aware of all the implications with their present knowledge. They will, in time, see the logic in such instruction and, hence they would be well advised to obey those instructions.
إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا وعلى ربهم يتوكلون.
In fact, mu'mins are those who tremble at the very thought of disobeying divine commands, because they are sure disaster will follow. When details of divine value systems are presented to them, they rejoice at the thought of living in accordance with them because they are certain that pleasant consequences are bound to follow. They firmly believe that divine guidance will never let them down. 8:2. The true significance of tawakkul, infallible support, is that having been convinced of a course of action, you initiate action on that course. You go on treading your course with persistence even though initially you may be discouraged because the results do not appear to be in proportion to the effort you made. This is called sabar. You go on steadfastly sticking to your course of actions because you are convinced that in the final analysis divine laws will protect you from coming to any permanent harm because you are working in obedience to divine laws. This is called istighfar.
الصابرين والصادقين والقانتين والمنفقين والمستغفرين بالأسحار.
Moments are steadfast. By their actions, under all sorts of challenges, they prove the firmness of their conviction. At all times, they continue to work in accordance with the laws of God, spending all their energies in the process. They keep producing things with their labor and then keep these resources available for use by the indigent and needy. They are sure that because they are following the laws of God, He is bound to provide them protection. 3:17. In this spirit of sacrifice, they forego their own needs when they find that others need the resources at their command more urgently.
والذين تبوأوا الدار والإيمان من قبلهم يحبون من هاجر إليهم ولا يجدون في صدورهم حاجة مما أوتوا ويؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك هم المفلحون.
These helpers in Medina welcome with open arms those who migrate to Medina from Mecca. These helpers give priority to the requirements of the migrants even though they themselves may be in dire need of the available resources. 59:9. Even though they may be in a relative state of discomfort themselves, the moments keep allotting their resources to fulfill the dire need of the indigents.
الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين.
They keep the product of their labor open for use by humanity irrespective of whether they themselves are in pleasant circumstances or difficult straits. They do not destroy their excess energies and power on frivolous things but instead transfer it for use in constructive works. While so doing, they do not care what others think about their course of action. God likes those who work for restoration of balance. 3:134. By definition, a momin is somebody who is at peace with him and others are at peace with him. His actions can be predicted because he will always act according to a defined code of law. His goal and his aspirations are what God wishes his goal and aspirations should be.
وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله إن الله كان عليما حكيما.
And you do not wish for anything unless Allah wishes that you should do so. 76:30. And once they have decided that their life pattern will follow the wishes of Allah, they stick to this resolve under all circumstances.
الذين يوفون بعهد الله ولا ينقضون الميثاق والذين يصلون ما أمر الله به أن يوصل ويخشون ربهم ويخافون سوء الحساب والذين صبروا ابتغاء وجه ربهم وأقاموا الصلاة وأنفقوا مما رزقناهم سررا وعلانية ويدرؤون بالحسنة السيئة أولئك لهم عقبى الدار.
Those who fulfill the pact of Allah and break not the covenant. And those who join that which Allah has bidden to be joined and are frightened of the consequences of disobeying the laws of Allah. And fear the evil reckoning. And those who are steadfast seeking the pleasure of their nourisher, follow his laws in all spheres of life and keep available for the needy of that which Allah has given them. They spend openly or secretly in the way of Allah as appropriate and repel evil with good. 13:20-22. That is why everybody is at peace with them including their enemies who are also sure that whatever the provocation, momins will not overstep the laws by which they have promised to live.
إن أنزلنا إليك الكتاب بالحق لتحكم بين الناس بما أراك الله ولا تكن للخائنين خصيما.
O Nabi, we have revealed to you this set of values so that you would judge between people on the basis of what light Allah has shown you. 4:105. But the enemies also know that they cannot take the moments for granted. The moments know how to treat with the enemy, and they amply show their intentions beforehand.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا عدوي وعدوكم أولياء تلقون إليهم بالمودة وقد كفروا بما جاءكم من الحق يخرجون الرسول وإياكم أن تؤمنوا بالله ربكم إن كنتم خرجتم جهادا في سبيلي وابتغاء مرضاتي تسرون إليهم بالمودة وأنا أعلم بما أخفيتم وما أعلنتم ومن يفعله منكم فقد ضل سواء السبيل إن يثقفوكم يكونوا لكم أعداء ويبسطوا إليكم أيديهم وألسنتهم بالسوء وودوا لو تكفرون.
O you who believe, take not my enemy and your enemy for friends. Would you offer them love while they cannot be trusted to live by just laws? They drove you and the messenger from your homes just because of your wanting to be free to live by your way of life. If you have come forth to strive in my way and to seek my pleasure, would you love them in secret? If they overcome you, they will be your enemies, and will stretch forth their hands and their tongues towards you with evil, and they desire that you may disbelieve. 60:1-2. Do not join them, but instead remember how Abraham, peace be upon him, and his followers dealt with their enemies.
قد كانت لكم أسوة حسنة في إبراهيم والذين معه إذ قالوا لقومهم إنا براء منكم ومما تعبدون من دون الله كفرنا بكم وبدا بيننا وبينكم العداوة والبغضاء أبدا حتى تؤمنوا بالله وحده إلا قول إبراهيم لأبيه لأستغفرن لك وما أملك لك من الله من شيء ربنا عليك توكلنا وإليك أنبنا وإليك المصير.
Indeed, there is for you a good example in Abraham, peace be upon him, and those with him when they said to their people, we are not responsible for you because of your following the laws of other than Allah. We disbelieve in you, and there has arisen enmity and hatred between us and you for as long as you insist on not living according to a set of laws given by the Lord. 60:4. A Momin will have intimate relationship with another Momin. He will have a complete understanding with those who live by a declared set of laws, even though those values might differ from his own. But he will have no sharing of confidence with those who do not believe in any value system, and, as such, their actions are always unpredictable. Even so, a Momin should give due respect to such people provided they do not initiate an act of hostility.
والذين لا يشهدون الزور وإذا مروا باللغو مروا كراما.
Momins are those who witness no falsehood, and when they pass by what is in vain, they do so gracefully. 25:72. It is a waste of time and energy to develop any meaningful relationship with people who subscribe to no value system.
وإذا سمعوا اللغو أعرضوا عنه وقالوا لنا أعمالنا ولكم أعمالكم سلام عليكم لا نبتغي الجاهلين.
And when moments hear idle talk, they turn aside from it and say, for us are our deeds and for you your deeds. Peace be to you. We do not desire any meaningful relationship with ignorant people. 28:55. But this does not mean that a Momin should look down upon other people just because of differences in ways of life.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خيرا منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكن خيرا منهن ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان.
O you who believe, let not set of people look down upon or treat with disdain another set of people. Perchance they may be better than you. This includes both men and women. And also, do not find faults among your own people or others when such faults are not there, nor should you give nicknames to others. Such habits do not suit you after you have adopted Islam as a way of life. 49:11. Once you develop a disliking for a set of people, you tend to ascribe to them all sorts of evil without first ascertaining whether such rumors about them are based on fact or not. This does not suit a Momin.
يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم ولا تجسسوا ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه واتقوا الله إن الله تواب رحيم.
O you who believe, avoid thinking unwell about one another based on unascertained information. Many times, this will lead to very harmful consequences. Do not unnecessarily go deep into each other's personal lives or backbite against each other. Does one of you like to eat the flesh of his dead brother? This is what backbiting amount to. Surely, you would abhor it. 49:12. When Momins inculcate some of the individual character traits as mentioned above and collectively adopt the value systems as detailed in other chapters, they become a power to reckon with amongst the comity of nations in the world. They should not let their status lead to believe that they have become some sort of superhuman. They must behave in a humble and graceful way so that they attract others to adopt their way of life.
وعباد الرحمن الذين يمشون على الأرض هونا وإذا خاطبهم الجاهلون قالوا سلاما.
And the servants of the Beneficent are they who walk on the earth in humility, and when ignorant address them, they say, peace. 25:63.
ولا تصعر خدك للناس ولا تمشي في الأرض مرحا إن الله لا يحب كل مختال فخور واقصد في مشيك واغضض من صوتك إن أنكر الأصوات لصوت الحمير.
And turn not your face away from people in contempt, nor go about in the land exultingly. Surely, Allah does not love any self-conceited boasters. And, pursue the right course in thy going about and lower your voice. Surely, the most hateful of voices is braying of asses.
31:18-19.
As moments, they should steadfastly continue to strive their utmost to pattern their lives on the value system given by God. For this, they will have to take decisions of their own too, remaining within the limits of Allah, and they might, on occasions, take wrong decisions. God's grand design caters for such minor lapses. These lapses do have their consequences, but provided major limits of Allah are not crossed, they do not result in uncontainable disasters.
والذين يجتنبون كبائر الإثم والفواحش وإذا ما غضبوا هم يغفرون.
Moments are people who avoid such major disastrous actions as materially affect the growth of human personality and remain decent.
And, if by a minor default, they do become angry on such occasions, they do not harm others. 42:37. These are trying occasions.
Emotions run high when consequences of minor lapses start harming a stable society. Here is when decent people remain firm and sticking to the higher value, confident that the consequences of minor lapses will pass away. They have committed themselves to a way of life and they will not be deviated from this way when minor disasters overtake them as a result of their failings.
والذين هم لأماناتهم وعهدهم راعون.
Those who steadfastly stand by their commitments under all circumstances. 70:32.
Mysticism has made it fashionable to degrade life in this world.
The universe is unreal, it is argued. Humans are therefore enjoined to shun material things.
As argued in other chapter, the Quran debunks this theory in clear words.
The universe is not unreal, a plaything of the God.
It is meant for a positive purpose. Human beings must use the material things available in the world to improve the quality of life, not only their own but of the entire species in the universe. Life, however, does not pertain to this world alone. Bodily death is not the end of the life for those whose balance of positive actions in this world entitles them to graduate to a higher life.
At death, the human body disintegrates.
But personality lives on.
Hence the Quran lays great stress on development of not only the human body but also of personality. How does personality develop to graduate into a higher life? The body develops because of what we take in, that is food, drink, entertainment, healthful activities, and so on. Contrarily, the personality develops when we give out. Hence, the continuous stress by Quran that moments must give of their time, money, love, life when necessary for others in need. In fact, oftentimes a moment gives to others such resources of which he may be in dire need himself. This creates a balance in society as well as leads to an integration and strength of human personality.
ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها.
Human personality has been created so that man has a potential to integrate it or disintegrate it at his choice. Whoever strengthens and integrates his personality graduates to a higher life. And, whoever prefers to disintegrate his personality dies away forever on his physical death.
91:7-12.
And how is the personality strengthened?
Says the Quran.
فأما من أعطى واتقى وصدق بالحسنى فسنيسره لليسرى وأما من بخل واستغنى وكذب بالحسنى فسنيسره للعسرى وما يغني عنه ماله إذا ترد.
And whoever gives of the earning of his hard work for growth of others, to maintain balance in society, he proves by his positive actions that mankind is one. Such a man lives a useful and graceful life. And, whoever keeps his earning to himself for his own selfish needs, showing thereby that he can live independently of others around him, lives a wretched and ungraceful life. His accumulated wealth is of no use to him.
92:5-11.
The personality of the givers is further strengthened when they assure those whom they give that this action of theirs is not meant as a favor to them.
الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى إلا ابتغاء وجه ربه الأعلى.
The moment gives for nourishment of those who are temporarily in need. He does so not as a favor to the needy or that he expects a reward in return, but only because the laws of God convince him that this will result in restoring balance in humanity. 92:18-20. The givers graduate in a higher life on physical death, thus achieving immortality.
The deniers die, and that is the end of the line for them for all times.
A sad end indeed. Characteristics of God to be adopted by man. According to the Quran, there is a definite and positive purpose in the creation of human beings. They have been created so that by exploiting nature, they produce useful things for humanity so that life goes on improving as time goes by and humans become more and more adept at discovering the bounties of nature and using those bounties for benefiting humanity.
وذكر فإن الذكرى تنفع المؤمنين وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون ما أريد منهم من رزق وما أريد أن يطعمون.
O Messenger, keep reminding the moments of the laws of nature. Living according to the laws of nature will benefit mankind. In fact, the aim of creation of mankind is that civilized, developed, as well as underdeveloped people together strive to live by the divine value system and thus benefit mankind. The aim is not for mankind to nourish God. God does not need this from humans, 51:55-57. To enable them to be of maximum benefit to humanity, humans are advised to develop traits of God in their personalities, as far as humanly possible, as defined in the Quran.
ولله الأسماء الحسنى فادعوه بها وذروا الذين يلحدون في أسمائه سيجزون ما كانوا يعملون.
God has personality characteristics. Try and imbibe those characteristics, as far as humanly possible, in your personality. A judicious use of these character traits will restore balance in humanity. When you develop these character traits and then follow the laws of Allah, you will be fully compensated for actions. 7:180. The Mu'mins are advised to strive in congruity and partnership with the forces of nature. When they do so, they will reflect divine characteristics.
صبغة الله ومن أحسن من الله صبغة ونحن له عابدون.
We take Allah's color and who is better than Allah at coloring. And we do so by following His laws. 2:138. It would, therefore, be useful to compile a list of characteristics of God as given in the Quran and use that as a guide for development of human personality. It must, however, be clearly understood that humans are just that and not divine. Allah possesses those characteristics in their highest form. Man will never become Allah, but he is asked to be as close to Him as possible. And closest to God is that person who follows His law in all spheres of life under all circumstances. It may also be mentioned that not only individuals but nations are also advised to collectively imbibe these characteristics of Allah in their administrative machineries. This would facilitate individuals in their efforts to get close to Allah. We are now ready to list Asma-ul-Husna, divine characteristics as enumerated in the Quran. I would request the readers to exercise their judgment as to how far humans could reflect these characteristics in their individual and collective life. I have deliberately kept my own comments short but, I hope, adequately descriptive. 1. Rab. The provider of free and ample means of nourishment and growth at all stages from creation of humans until they achieve their full potential. 1:1. 2. Rahim. One who continuously keeps providing means for growth for progressive evolution, at all stages. 1:2. 3. Rahman. One who provides means of growth when changes in conditions require emergent evolution. 1:2. 4. Malik. One who has complete control and authority. One who exercises authority in such a manner that it ensures growth of universe in an orderly and lawful manner. 59:23. 5. Qudus. A completely developed personality free of any deficiency or shortcoming. 59:23. 6. Salam. One who keeps the universe protected from afflictions of all kinds and whose system ensures this protection for all times. 59:23. 7. Momin. One who can be completely trusted and with whom you can live at peace. 59:23. 8. Mohaman. One who protects the universe as a mother protects her children. 59:23. 9. Aziz. One whose laws are supreme in the universe. No power can counter or challenge his laws. 59:23. 10. Jabbar. One who ensures that any breakage in his system is prevented by the splints of his laws. 59:23. 11. Mutakabir. One who is the owner of all superiority and greatness. 59:24. 12. Khaliq. One who creates something according to a thought-out pattern. Created thing would be balanced in all respects, free of any defects. 59:24. 13. Bari. One who, after creating something, isolates it from other superfluous matters. 59:24. 14. Musawwir. One who after creating something in a perfect pattern and isolating it from other superfluous matters give it a distinct shape of its own. 59:24. 15. Ghafur. One who, if you follow his laws, will give you protection so that no harmful consequences accrue as a result of following his laws. 2082. 16. Qahar. One whose laws are supreme on everyone. Nobody can break his laws and then bring about consequences of his own choice. Only those consequences will follow which his laws predict. 1239. 17. Wahhab. One who freely gives a lot without asking to be compensated for it. 3:7. 18. Razak. One who provides the means of nourishment of body as well as personality and ensures continuous supply of means of subsistence on time to everybody. 11:6. 19. Fada. One who makes major decisions. One who simplifies complicated problems and manifests realities. 34:26. 20. Alim. One whose every pronouncement is based on knowledge. The know-all. 34:26. 21. Sami. The hear-all. 334. 22. Basir. The see-all. 67:19. 23. Latif. One who is aware of the deepest secrets. One who employs knowing and polite language when explaining things. 67:14. 24. Kabir. One who keeps abreast of what is required to be known. 67:14. 25. Hakim. One who uses the universe in a correct and logical way and thus keeps everything under his control. 232. 26. Halim. One who is not excited in a hurry. One who keeps his cool and decides matters according to a law and not based on emotions. 2:225. 27. Azim. One who is high and mighty and giver of high places to humanity. 2:256. 28. Ali. High and mighty. 2:255. 29. Shakur. One who rewards others' efforts with fullest benefits for their hard work. 2:158. 30. Kabir. One whose laws are sovereign. 13:9. 31. Motall. One who is beyond reach. Whose laws nobody can change. 13:9. 32. Hafiz. One who supervises to ensure preservation. 11:57. 33. Muqit. One who provides sustenance to all things in universe. Assists them. Their helper. 485. 34. Hasib. One who keeps an account. One who keeps watch. Keeps reckoning. 88:25. 35. Jalil. Honorable. Glorious. 55:27. 36. Kareem. Generous. Give so that receiver does not feel any obligation. 96:3. 37. Mujib. One who responds to a call and request. 1161. 38. Wazi. One who has power.
One who has abundance of resources.
2:115. 39. Raqib.
One who keeps alert constantly to look after, protect and supervise.
4:1. 40. Wadud.
One who has great, lot of affection.
85:14. 41. Majid.
One who gives abundantly to the highest extent to enable others to live comfortably.
1173. 42. Hamid.
One who is to be praised because of his excellent characteristics.
1173. 43. Shahid.
One who has his eyes over everything.
Witness.
Nothing escapes his vision.
22:17. 44. Wakil.
One whom you can completely trust. One whose laws will produce the promised results.
3:158.
45. Kawi most powerful. The last word in possession of power.
The strong. The mighty. 1166. 46. Mateen. One who is strong himself and gives strength to others. Independently strong. 51:58. 47. Haq.
One who keeps inventing concrete things to keep pace with requirements of time.
One whose existence cannot be denied. 1030. 48. Wali. Friend. Confident. If man lives in conformity with divine values, God becomes that man's wali and vice versa. 2:257. 49. Hayy.
One who gives life to all but is not dependent on others for life.
2:255. 50.
One who gives balance and power to enable people to stand up to others, but he does not need any support.
2:255. 51. Samad. One who is so high and mighty that people go to him for protection. Whose protection would be continuous. Himself independent of any support. 112:2. 52. Qadir. One who has control over things.
One who initiates a thing, determines the various steps it has to take for its development and helps it to achieve its potential provided it takes steps determined for its development.
2:284. 53. Bar. Benign. Conferrer of noble behavior. Truthful. 52:28. 54. Ralph. One who removes obstacles in the way of human endeavors to become fruitful. Compassionate. Creates positive results of good work. 2:143. 55. A few.
One who dispels some of the consequences of a bad act by somebody provided that somebody follows up his bad act with good acts.
443. 56. Ghani.
One who is so independent that he does not need the services of anybody for his existence or development.
29:6. 57. Hadi. One who shows the way. 93:7. 58. Muqsit.
One who fully compensates the full share due to somebody.
729. 59. Waris.
One who owns things and then things get transferred from him to others.
3:179. 60. Adil. One who treats equally two people requiring justice. Giver of equal share. 1690. 61. Baqi. One who remains changeless when everything else changes with time. 55:26. 62. Mubdi.
One who initiates creation.
10:4. 63. Mu'id.
One who after having initiated a creation, casts it around in various shapes and stages to bring it to completion.
10:4. 64. Tawab. One to whose laws you have to return whenever you have taken a wrong step at any time. 68:25. 65. Qarib. One who is close to everybody and quick to respond to a call. 1161. I may well have missed out a few characteristics. Those can be added to the list. A careful study of these characteristics detailed above will reveal that it provides guidance for individuals to adopt character qualities which would make them better human beings and for societies to adopt courses of action which would enable their administrations to be more useful to their people. There is no voodoo or magic around these names of Allah. The figure 99 names of God seem also to add to the voodoo effect. A constant oral repetition of these names will not produce any beneficial results. They ought to be used for the much higher purpose for which they have been enumerated, and that is to materially benefit humanity in their individual and collective lives. 5 Pillars of Islam. In the Muslim world in general, and in the subcontinent of India and Pakistan in particular, it has been traditionally believed for a long time that there are 5 pillars of Islam. A. Belief in one Allah. B. 5 daily prayers. C. A month of fasting in Ramadan. D. Zakat at 2.5% of annual savings. E. Pilgrimage of Kaaba once in life for those who can afford it. The Quran does not specifically mention the above as pillars, nor does it give an exact number. So, it must be kept in mind that the ulama have highlighted the above, based on their own judgment rather than from a specific reference to the Quran. However, each one of them is highly important and we shall discuss them one by one in detail, noting what the Quran has to say about them in various chapters. We must not lose sight of our main aim when discussing this. We are pinpointing a divine value system to give guidance to Muslims in leading their individual and collective lives. I hope, by now, it is pretty clear that a belief in some dogmas or mere repetition of few words or movements does not take you very far in life. What is useful is constructive action, which helps in growth of human personality and promote universal peace and plenty.